Agenda today.
All right, welcome. Call this meeting to order. The Town Council meeting for March 2nd. Get started with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Next up on the agenda will be public comment. This portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public, who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comment via email should email publicmeetings@rockyhillct.gov prior to 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting to have their public comment read into the record. And do we have any members of the public? Looks like it's you, Charlie.
I'm not going to ask what that means. Charlie Wisnowski, 670 Old Main Street. The mayor was gracious to contact me about a report on the Veterans Memorial Green this evening, but I know that the public will not be able to participate in that report discussion. But tonight I am providing some material that the town staff and the Kelson Row people have developed over the last 4 calendar years. During this time, there has not been any public outreach or input. I ask you to stop the use of the October 2024 plan created by SLR, Kelson Rose Engineer. Go to bid after the public and stakeholders haven't had an opportunity to contribute. Do not jeopardize the $500,000 state grant by using only input from Kelson Rose Engineer. And don't use Kelson Rose Engineer plan to go to bid. I urge you to have an independent, arm's length bid from any and all engineers. I urge you to not specify a predetermined design in the bid package. In my opinion, the continued reliance on Kelson Rose Engineer is a significant disservice to the use of the state grant. The town council is the decision maker. Please remedy the actions of the last 4 years, which has intentionally been unresponsive to public communication. The green and the cemetery date from 1730 and are more important to the town than the compliments and parking to Kelson Row that the SLR proposal includes. Please be the open government that lets the public take pride in the town. I ask this council to approach the issue independently and afresh. I will now give you all some wonderful reading. Daniel?
Thank you.
Mr. Savigny?
Thank you, sir.
You, sir? I would like to have Miriam get a copy. To whom should I give it?
You can give me two copies. I'll keep one here for my desk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
if you want to give me one, you don't have
You're
to.
a scientist, you can figure it out.
Okay.
And one final comment, since I'm over my few minutes. I've included a proposal requested by the town from SLR done in March of 2025, adjusted because they did things to do with bid numbers for consultants. I've included some correspondence where the town asked and got no response. And then using CHAP CPT 5.2, I sought what do the state statutes for an Urban Act grant say about arm's length service of using work done by an engineer that they're eventually going to bid on. Generally, it's no. Then I put in CHAP GPT 5.2, Town of Rocky Hill, bid requirements. I'm not saying it's all right, but in general, I believe it says you can't give someone a competitive advantage. I hope you put some effort in looking at it as I did in putting it together. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can make the motion.
Do we have any other members of the public for public comment? Okay. No? All right. Daniel, do we have anything?
Just one. This is from April Peral. She sent it on February 17th. Good afternoon. We wanted to be here tonight, but my husband wasn't feeling well. Around 2 years ago, the concierge took $400 from my husband to apply for an apartment, which they denied. He went to get his money back as they told him that he would get his money back if it was denied, and they said they sent it back. However, he never received it. We asked for proof of the check being cash, and they never provided that information. He made numerous attempts to go there and even reached out to the Attorney General, but no one has helped him. I know this is a little bit different as to what is going on, but while we were there, we lived in those horrendous conditions, which we have pictures of. My husband's name is Salvatore De Primo, and then she lists his phone number, which I'm going to omit from the record.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, April.
Mayor, I'd like to motion to move item 8B, Veteran Green Grant Project, before appointment and registration.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. So, yes, we're moving the discussion up.
Steve can come. Yep.
You got his number?
A or B?
8B.
8B.
Yes, the Veterans Green project, because we have some town staff here, and they don't necessarily need to stick around for hours tonight if we can, and we've got members of the public that had specific, questions about this, so.
All right, good evening. Steve Soplack, Director of Community Development in Services and Public Works. I think I know most of you. I don't believe I've met Zach yet. But congratulations to all of you on your return to the council. Unfortunately, Mr. Wisnowski left. So what you see in front of you here is basically the existing conditions that are out. Is this okay? Yeah, out here at well, we're going to say Kelson Road is this part where I'm running around with my mouse. This is Veterans Memorial Green, Main Street, Pratt Street, Dividend Road. All right. So first and foremost, whatever we do with state funds, I don't know if you're familiar, they have a process. And the process is we submit an application. Even though it said, we got it, we still had to submit an application to DECD. They review, we go back and forth, they make their comments, and then this dragged on for many years until this past February. So it's not like we didn't do anything with this grant money. We were trying. We're going back and forth with DECD. The ECD now has told us we don't need to go to public bid. We can solicit minimum 3 vendors. We solicited 4, including the person who did the original sketch, and that's all it is. It's a sketch. It's magic marker on onion skin overlaying an aerial. This is what we put out to the consultants with some other stuff on it, basically saying, investigate traffic calming, investigate, this is a bus stop, so investigate connection to the bus stop, investigate turning this into a four-way stop if it's possible. This is all this is already out. It's due back at the end of, when's that due? It's due to me March 17th. It'll be on the Finance Committee April 14th, Town Council for Ward April 20th, so we could have, by May, a consultant. We did not show any parking. We just said investigate parking either here or here for the green. We talked about the different kind of traffic calming, crosswalks to get into, because people are going to walk from Kelson Row over. So some kind of crosswalks, probably textured, so you feel it slow them down, like we have out here now. And it'd be in concert with what we have out there with the the faux brick and the white stripes. So that's kind of the update on that. As I said, we did not give out anybody's plans. We gave out a blank sheet more or less like this. And asking, we put out our request for proposals. I can get that to you if you'd like. I didn't bring it this evening. Let me back up the train here for 1 second. So anytime you get federal or state money, you have to follow federal state procedures, and it's very time consuming. You lose local control on some of these things. The first one I ever did in 2001, we applied for a grant. 2002, we sat down with DOT because they had to review it, and they said, here's your timeline. You can bid in 2005, 3 years to get money to do Cold Spring Road. In reality, we could have called the two different vendors who on a state low bid, got them later that year. But, to get the state money, you have to follow the procedures. And then to get, so let me kind of go through that procedure. So once we have the grant, there's a commitment to fund. We get the commitment to fund letter. Then we get the consultant. They do their thing. Or if we're going to do the project in-house, we do our thing. We do our design, 30% complete. It goes back to the state for review. At that time, they ask us to do a public information meeting for public input. Not any sooner. You have to have a plan on paper with a PE or some professional stamp on it before we go out and get any kind of comments. That's their procedure. And then once upon a time, they used to, depending on the scale of the project, there'd be a 60% review, make comments, come back, possibly another public meeting, then a 90% review, and then the final. So it's usually 4 submissions. And during these processes, we have to go to wetlands, planning and zoning, state if needed, Army Corps if needed, any other kind of permitting, town council in this case, because it's going to be an 824 referral. So that's just to give you guys an idea of the process, and it's not a quick thing. It doesn't happen, it's not like they say, here's your money, go build. We have to follow their procedure. Any questions on that?
Steve, what was the first question regarding the green? Was it to remake it to some extent to add parking? I mean, what was it?
So originally the grant came $500,000 and it was earmarked towards Kelson Row. It got reprogrammed to the green, and it was called the expansion of Veterans Memorial Green. The initial proposal we went out, we solicited a few bids, was to close Dividend Road from Main Street to Pratt Street. Schematic plans were done with a rough estimate, and because of the traffic lights, turning lanes, all the other stuff, we were thinking we probably need you have to remove these two, rebuild the road, restripe, probably need a traffic light here at the intersection of Pratt, possibly a second coordinated one at the intersection of Grimes. Traffic lights are $400,000 or $500,000 a piece. So if we needed 2 traffic lights, $1 million project, this would have been $1.5 million project. We wouldn't have had the funds. Hence why we went back and sat down and met with SLR because they offered, not because they wanted the job, because they offered to sit down and come up with, bat around some ideas. We sat here. There was me. There was Ray. There was our former mayor. There was members of public safety, planning, I think highways. We had a whole host of people, plus SLR, and one or two representatives from Kelson Row. And we just threw ideas at the wall and see what stuck. So as I said, there's a bunch of different sketches on onion skin, magic marker, over an aerial photo. That's all it was.
So, just going back to my original question, is it landscaping? Is it, I mean, why do it?
It was to beautify, I guess, is what we were saying. You know, it's expansion and beautification, and, you know, we don't have a set standard of what we want. We said, you know, give us different ideas and see what we can fit into the budget.
Was there a concern expressed from Kelson about parking if there was some
Nope.
activity there?
No, it came up from our people saying, hey, this would be nice if there's parking here for when we have something, and you have the people who need to be close, like ADA compliant, you know, the vets, whatever. It's one day a year, I understand that, but, you know, right now, there's no parking anymore. They used to park in the Ames parking lot. It's not Ames anymore. It's all taken up. There's really nowhere to park. It's been a challenge to, you know, get the folks there with this new situation.
So based on what you were saying, the federal guidelines for the grant, right? There's no public input until there's
Such a plan. It's a plan.
a basic plan in place, which is presented to the public for input at a certain date.
Has to be a plan drawn up, designed, stamped,
And that could be changed based on
and it could be
public input.
changed based on public, but that's the guidelines. That's how it works.
Um,
You don't start off with a public hearing and say, what should we do? You start off with a basic idea, plan submitted, and then you
I
get
think
your public input.
I think it would help us, because I don't recall having these reviews, and especially the people that are new on the council, maybe like a one-page brief of the objective here, that, you know, the request, the objective for the Veterans Green, and the goal based on this federal grant.
Let me chime in here. This is it's a state grant. It's bond money. Representative Wood, like Steve said, originally received approval for $500,000 for demolition of Kelson Row. We had that reprogrammed, and we thought the Veterans Green would be good. The idea, we don't even have approval of the grant yet. Right? It took 3-4 years to get me going through all of the required documentation and the change in staffing to get to this point. That Steve, we found 2 other contacts that were able to contact the state to get this thing moving. The idea here was to slow traffic down on Dividend Road with some traffic calming. In fact, that particular sketch that Steve talks about with the parking actually shows a couple of little bump outs that expand the green itself on the top end and bottom end. And it shows a little wave in Dividend Road. You know, we tried to fit everything within the right-of-way currently. The parking, everything is in the paved area or the right-of-way on the other side of Dividend Road on the Kelson Row side. We thought that looked pretty cool, but like Steve said, we have to go out to bid with a vacant, not like a blank canvas, which is what he did, which you see on the monitor. But the idea was to do some traffic calming, slow the speed down, because as we all know that area is so fast, and also provide a little bit of parking, and if there was money left, some embellishment of the green. And that would be all up to the rec board, Craig, and what have you. But we have to have some type of plan going forward.
For those of you who were here previous, if you recall, I was here last year, maybe the year before, regarding no-through trucks and where we can have them and we can't, and we have a sign on Dividend Road, and it's not a legal sign. You know, so again, the traffic calming, putting chicanes or whatever we do will help remove that traffic that really doesn't need to be there off that stretch of road.
I would also like to see if we can get a left turn only. Yeah, that's just my idea at that
Yeah,
point.
you're talking
Left turn
here.
only. No. Dividend Road.
Oh, right here, yeah, right here, yeah.
That'll avoid people trying to
Yeah.
speed through so before it merges, so, I mean, that's an idea. If it works, great.
Yep.
And if that's what people want,
That'll be like phase 2, what I'm gonna talk about here.
I like the phase 1 would be better, Steve.
No, I'm talking,
So, I mean, my last question, I mean, you basically need a defined plan for the grant to be approved.
No,
Is that what they're
the
waiting for?
grant,
No.
the grant is approved, right, for us to go out to bid.
I thought you said you weren't
No,
sure
so-
we were
no,
going to get it.
No, Steve talked to somebody who said.
February
"We
9th.
Go out to bid, but I don't have any approval, I have not signed any documentation. There's an assistance agreement that needs to be signed. I have not received that yet. So if we spend any money, it's on so we're not spending money right now, except for maybe an advertisement.
So in other words, you don't have the full, like, contract handled? in other
No.
words? Okay.
I'm sorry, I have a few questions. Just to be clear, we are not married to this design. We could, from the ground up through a public process, decide to go a different direction so long as it fits within the cost value of the thing. Okay. What-
Piggyback with that a
Yeah.
little bit. How are we going for a design to be bid on, and then we're gonna change it all up again?
it's just the process of every project we ever do. You come up with, like the streetscape out here on Celestine Highway. We went out for a bid. We had, I don't know how many consultants. We interviewed them, picked the best one, and they drew up what they thought was ideal for the Celestine Highway. They had public hearings. They incorporated those comments into the public hearings, and that's what you see out there now.
Then you go out to rebid again? Say the public.
No, you don't rebid. You have a consultant, and the consultant comes up with his initial ideas, puts them on paper, comes in, we might review them for just some things, but then there's gonna be a public hearing, and that's when you come in, and everybody has their comments about that plan that you're looking at.
So what if that changes totally?
Then they redraw, and it's a totally different plan.
Does that go back out to bid?
Well, it's not out to bid yet. It only goes to bid when we go for construction. The design is a back and forth process. We have one consultant that does the design from start to finish, and they handle the public, the public information meeting. They take all those all those comments, and they incorporate it. Some can be done, some can't.
Do we have that consultant now?
Not yet. That's,
So does that go to bid
that is out.
for who we're gonna use as a
Yes.
consultant? Okay.
We didn't have to go to bid per se. They told us we could just invite 3. So we invited 4, because we invited 3, non-part, no one partial to this, and then the one guy who's done work there. And you have to consider, the guy who's done work there is gonna have all the mapping, all the survey control, everything, so he's gonna probably be less expensive.
Can I?
Did you put out the bid?
Basically, I'd have to get it for you. I don't have it here.
Just that map right there?
Basically, something that looks like this and just said with arrows, investigate doing ba in this area. Investigate.
Why aren't we being provided that tonight?
I can get that for you. I don't have it, I'm sorry.
Pretty critical, going out to bid on something and we don't even know what's going on with bid.
Well, it's already,
Those are just areas
Yeah.
to highlight areas to look at.
I apologize.
You went
I
over
still
that
have
a
questions I was
little
trying to
while
get
ago, right?
yeah.
Why-
We've,
why don't you
we've,
repeat?
as long as I've been here, we've never come to the council with a bid package for approval. It just goes out. It's the way it's always been.
Okay, so we're not married to the design, but we're married to the consultant once we go through this.
Once we select one.
Okay. Was there a prohibition on having another form of public input earlier in the process, or is it just not how it's done?
What do you mean?
Were we not allowed to have a public process to come up with some ideas before you went out to seek the design, bid, all of that? I only ask because it seems to me that, I'm looking at the documentation that the public commenter decided to give us, and some of it is, I can see why it would look pretty scary to somebody. It says it's going to be transformative, all this stuff that you expect from language from a designer. But my questions are really revolving around, when you say the person who's done work around here, you're talking about the Kelson Road design?
SLR,
Yeah, okay.
consultant, not the developer.
From here on out, do you mind referring to them directly in that way? The reason I say that is, you got to imagine that to some people, it might seem like a conflict that they would get involved and be, it's not necessarily fully benevolent if it's a property that abuts where they have their property. If they were talking about something far across town, I might see it as a little bit more like, oh, well, that's nice of them to offer to help. But why did we go with them? Why didn't we do any other type of process or any other type of input to get the design?
We had a sit down with them.
Convenience,
Yeah, it
convenience
was-
because
yeah,
it's
'cause, well, I
existing
think-
relationships.
I think Kelson Rowe actually
all that.
offered up to throw
Yeah.
some designs out.
I'm sure that they did. I just struggle with how, it's a property that's right next to where they have theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, clearly, they're gonna have interests of their own related to it. And
Not
if
necessarily.
if the public's not gonna get involved until the very end,
Zach,
We're-
I have to stop you for a second. SLR is like a very large engineering company. They're not only
Okay.
Kelson
They're
Rowe's
nationwide.
I'm
engineer.
not familiar enough
Yeah,
to speak to
yeah,
them
they're a
specifically.
big engineering firm, so, they're a big competitor of my company that I work for. They're a very well reputable company, so to say that they they're very connected with Kelson Rowe, I don't know enough about, are they their exclusive engineer? I don't know, but they are, they've come in front of the Concom before. They are a very common consultant engineering firm that do a lot of work in Rocky Hill too. So to have and things cost money, to have the things that, to have the information and the knowledge, it helps save money too. So, I understand where everyone's talking about, there's no been public, but literally the way the process works is you put it out to bid. The town is going to interview everyone. Each of the people who bid are going to come up with a concept. Perhaps somebody who is not SLR is going to come up with a very awesome concept that the town is going to love, and that they want to keep with, and it's going to change. And then over the process, there's going to be many, many opportunities for the public to have input. There's going to be public meetings. There's going to be, I don't know if there's going to be Concom, but there's going to be planning and zoning. There's going to be all kinds of things where the public will have a chance to comment and review. And if the town and the consultant want to, maybe we recommend, and maybe if we need to go back for an amendment or a follow-up, maybe during the interview process, we can suggest, does your proposal include public meetings? We really want to have public meetings. Maybe we suggest that's part of their bid to make sure the public
That's
is
in
very
there.
involved.
It's in
Okay,
there.
good. Okay, good. So,
Always happy to get educated here.
yeah.
Just let me jump in one more time, hopefully. I'm the one who filled out the grant application. And in order for the grant application, for them to process it, they needed some kind of, what are you doing? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And that was that plan, that concept, magic marker plan that I gave to them as a concept. And there is a paragraph, the grant application asks for those questions. So there is information in the grant that has a summary of what's happening, what we want to do, all that stuff you usually have to put in a grant. Same process for every steep grant we got for the Silestein Highway, the phased part, the TAP grant.
The
Yeah,
alphabet soup, yeah.
And also even for the DOT, when they do their public information meeting, they have that plan, but they incorporate public comment. But the plan that's shown, that SLR kind of threw down as a potential concept, is what I use for the grant, because I needed something for the grant. So when and if I ever get the assistance agreement, it's based on that, but then we have to go through the whole bid process for design, not for construction.
Talk
Any-
about the little bit of process you met with different town staff people to come up with this. Why didn't, or maybe in the future, can we have one or two people from the public who have an invested interest in that area to get some input from them?
I mean, I've never seen that done. I mean, we've never done that.
We can,
Suggestible.
Yeah.
We can do
Because how many of these people live in our town that was at that meeting, that are town staff?
A few.
Because that's critical. We have to have town.
We had some EMS, emergency responders that were there. We had our town planner that was there. The mayor, of course. So, they all live here.
Okay. That's at least something.
Yep.
But, we do the Memorial Day Parade there, very involved. There's a lot of people that focus on that, are invested in involved in that, maybe if we could reach out to one or two of those people. And any other project you have in town, you know, you kind of would know who focuses on certain things in our town, maybe ask them a little input, if you allow that.
Great.
Any other
Anybody,
questions on that?
have anybody else?
Yeah, I haven't really, I had an explanation. I mean, I explained, but I didn't ask a question. I do think I'd like to see the what was submitted for bid and understand exactly what was asked. I think that would be good for us to
I can
understand.
just get it to Daniel, I guess.
Yeah.
He can send it out, yeah.
Yeah, I think
And
that-
then,
can we have it,
Yeah,
can we
we-
bring
Yeah,
it on the
we'll-
next agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, there's, yeah.
So, yeah, because the way
You
it was
come to the
explained.
counter, we'll show it to you.
Yeah, the way it was explained, it was just mainly traffic and dividend, but what exactly, I was curious, what exactly is the plan for the actual green itself? And, you know, I'm assuming the consultants will come up with something, but it's called a green, so I'm assuming it's gonna stay green. It's not gonna be too much you could do to that actual space.
There's been all kinds of conversations over that area over the last couple of years. And we're talking not just me, but people from parks, people from highways, all kinds of ideas of what should
Yeah, I mean, we
happen
could-
there.
We could do pollinator gardens, we could do, you know, rain gardens, we could, you know, do all kinds of things.
We gotta remember, there's a lot of monuments out there.
Oh, okay.
You gotta work around.
You know, it's,
Okay.
plus
You
it's only $500,000.
Yeah, you're not gonna get very far.
It's not much.
Pollinator habitat is not that
All
expensive,
right,
it's some
all right,
flowers, okay?
So if we
But,
could
yeah.
maybe
Anyway.
just
The
put a,
small area.
yeah, if we could maybe just put a button on this.
No,
So when we put it out to bid, at the phase that we're at right now, here's our ideas. We want to slow down traffic. We want to look at this light. We want to look at this. We want to look at this, and we want to keep it in $500,000. Right? That's basically the concept that went out.
well, the 500,000 has to include their fees too, so we told them 10% of,
That's what. Yeah.
which is common.
We just give them the dollar
Design
amount.
is usually 10%
Right,
of.
but I mean, we just give them the dollar amount, and then SLR, ABC, DEF, well, whatever acronyms come back and say, this is what we're planning to, we took your ideas, and this is what we can do for that price. And then we talk to them a few times and figure out who we think can do that, and then they have that plan, and then they come and they do public displays. This is what we're looking for, and we get feedback from the public that says, I don't want parking spaces there, I want parking spaces on the other side, or I want to have a pollinator garden, or whatever. Then they modify that, and as long as it's still within their $500,000, then everything's good, kind of thing.
Basically, if it's not outside of the $500,000, you can
Then we gotta
also
figure
do.
out how to pay for it.
Okay, this is gonna be phase 2, or an adult, you know, if
Right.
we have enough, we'll do it. But
Okay.
yes, correct.
So then just so two things to just put a pin in there is we didn't pay for any existing design that we have,
Nope.
right? Like we didn't pay SLR to draft something already. And they may be doing it out of the goodness of their heart, but also they do probably want the thing that is right next to their property to look great or be functional for them. Understandable. But in exchange, they did architectural work, which costs money. Usually we would have to pay to do that, or we would have to take up your time to do that, right?
Yep.
And then, the last point just be whatever design somebody comes back with, whether it's this one or the one that SLR already put together, that none of that is set in stone. We're not tearing anything up now based on zero, feedback from the public, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It's always been going to public hearing as soon as we had a firm design.
This is just kind of like the process it took to have to get to this point. And it was long because of
A lack of a commitment.
and feedback, not getting hearing back from the state and things like that, right?
Yeah, we have an email trail, and it finally ends on February 9th, when we finally heard from DECD. I had a video
Okay.
call with him,
Yeah.
and he said, you're good to move forward after he reviewed some stuff.
Yeah. Anybody have any other comments on this, or we think that we're good where we're at right now? Everybody has a good. Okay.
Since we're all here, may I
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Make a motion.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
And second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Charlie, do you have a question?
I have a statement.
Okay.
I left the room, this is the question. Excuse me.
Yeah, please.
Charlie Wisnowski, 670 Old Main Street, Rocky Hill. I left and Alexis got me back.
Got you in the parking lot before you got too far away.
When did this bid go out?
Last week.
Knowing that this kind of discussion was going on?
I'm following their procedure. The procedure is you go out to bid.
Okay.
Okay, that's the procedure with state projects.
But yes, there are minimums. My comment, a couple of comments. One is,
Can you please just speak into the mic, though, for anybody watching at home or posterity?
as a participatory member of the town for a lot of years, 42 years, 44 years, doing what you're doing, I've served on every kind of volunteer thing, elected thing, and I care. My 5 children grew up here. My wife was a teacher here. And yeah, there are standards in the town bidding process, the state bidding process, and so on. But that doesn't mean we who live here and try to help with our hands or with our taxes should be treated as something negative or not addressed at all. In this package, there's correspondence from various people, Ed being one of them, and there was no response. We asked, what's going on? And the manager never responded. They always said, well, there's a plan coming. Okay, so in this plan, in this package which I've given to you, and I'm not going to get into it, it says, Dear Steve, this is from SLR, in accordance with your request, and then it goes on to say what they did. And when it's yellow highlighted, it's all stuff about Kelson Row. And SLR was the engineer for Kelson Row. They were the engineer for Kelson Row in Cromwell. They're the engineer for Kelson Row in Madison or somewhere down by the river. Now, I'm happy to hear that they didn't include things, but I would like to see what was sent out. And so in this package is information about state bidding and town bidding and using someone who gave you free services that cites their clients' positive benefits from the green, in my opinion, is not really how the town should behave. And legally, it may not. Too bad Mimi isn't here. I believe she's a lawyer. She might have a comment on that. So as you go forward, you don't have to accept these bids. You can throw them out. But as Mr. Emanuel's getting to, he's saying, well, having that public, it's troublesome. We never did it. We don't have to. But guess what? You won. To the victors go the spoils. You can make the town in a way that it's going to be a better place. And the passage, after 4 years of trying to get something done, of another 30 days to stick a sign on the Veterans Green, put it on the electronic billboard, that there's going to be a discussion about improvements. And he's saying there doesn't have to be any specific improvements. That's great, because there are a lot of people in the public who know a lot more. He's never been to a Veterans Memorial Green ceremony, correct? Correct. I don't think anybody from SLR has ever been to one. There's a wonderful creation by Ed as the Historical Society head about the 12 different monuments that are at the Green. And the Green is special to the fire department, it's special to veterans, and so on. The sketch, onion skin, whatever, in which there are 2 copies in here, is not a very good design. It's not good because for half of the length of Dividend Road, There's no snow shelf. There's no landscape barrier. I don't know why that was considered a desirable thing.
There's no landscape barrier there now? No snow shelf there now?
Yes, there is.
Hey,
On the,
Yeah.
along Kelson Road, there is.
Yeah, we got-
The plans are in here. You can go outside and look. So, I don't know, you're the boss. You have the right to approve bids. You have the right to tell the town manager and the different staff people, be better, do it better. You don't have to do it the way it used to be. Use the creativity that got you elected. We want you to be what you said you would be. Open, creative, caring. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I make one last comment, then I'll leave this whole subject alone?
Okay.
I just wanted to piggyback on Councilor Whelan and say that regardless of how the processes are in other towns and elsewhere in the state, I do agree that we should seek opportunities to involve the public more than we try to just follow the rules of the road. Not for this process necessarily, we now understand where we are, but for future processes, I would like our department heads to seek out opportunities for public input and just run them by the mayor or run them by the council. I would be open to any additional opportunities for public input.
I just want to say, we're not trying to hide anything. We're not trying to skirt
sorry.
public. We fully intend on following the procedure when the procedure says to do so.
Definitely apologize if it was suggestive in the way that I said it, that was what I was suggesting. Not in any way do I think there was any bit of that going on. This is more of a convenience can lead to smaller circles of ideas being thrown around. And so I just wonder if we could just try to make an effort to see if there are other opportunities.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks.
Want me to do the
Oh.
traffic thing?
I don't know, do we have time for Steve to do a traffic update?
This is something that's come up recently. It's kind of become a hot topic regarding crosswalks. So you'll see, just for example, there's one here, here, and here. And we've got a lot of complaints from I guess they're probably residents of Kelson Row, saying they're almost getting hit coming out or crossing the road. And you go to the other slides there, Ray. So what's happening is the state of Connecticut, well, historically, the state of Connecticut's had what you call an exclusive pedestrian phase. And what you see here, this is any intersection USA, four-way, four legs. The light goes red, all directions. You can cross either way, all right? And what's happening now is, this is something that came out in like the 70s. It's called concurrent pedestrian phase. And they say it's more, it's safer. But what happens is, now the light doesn't go red all directions. It goes red, say east-west. So north-south you can cross, but at the same time, the cars can still go. It's like being in a city, any old city, New York City, you're down there, you cross with the light. And that's the state of Connecticut in 2021 changed to this, and they're changing all their signals that they own basically to this type of signal. So it's a learning curve, it's an inconvenience. There's another part to this, it's called leading pedestrian intervals. So and some lights have them, some don't. But what happens is it turns red, the pedestrian gets a 3 to 7 second head start, and then the light turns. So you could still be in a crosswalk. It's up to the driver to yield to the pedestrian. It's become a problem recently, and Chief Klett has some ideas. We have some ideas. We're going to write to the its Office of State Traffic Control about doing some things to some of these intersections, to maybe some rapid flashing beacons to get people's attention, just public education. He's upped the patrol down there for people whizzing around the corners. So it's just become a problem. We've been getting a lot of phone calls, and I'm sure you as elected officials have been getting the same emails and phone calls.
Could we make a no turn on red?
It's up to OSTA. Everything has to go through the state.
Can we petition OSTA to do that?
We can. I got to see what's there now. I did sit and watch it for a while the other day. Very few pedestrians actually. And this was, 8:30 in the morning. So,
Steve, do you envision down the road in that area a roundabout?
probably not.
Even with the discussion about the green in that area?
So roundabouts, I think the volume of traffic there is too high. It'd have to be a 2-lane roundabout, which is a lot of real estate.
There's a lot of traffic in Glastonbury, and they have a couple on,
They do, but
They had a bigger intersection to work with, though.
I don't think they get the volume of cars we have here. I'd have to look. Because once it gets over 20,000 cars a day, it's a 2-lane roundabout. We're getting that at least at the interchange of 160 and 99.
well, they have 2 lanes.
Because there was a proposal to do a roundabout there once upon a time. And,
I was just curious.
yeah, it'd be much bigger than what you'd think. Yeah.
Good.
So I hope that's helpful information. So when somebody asks, you can tell them it's the way the world basically is going. At least in this state and country.
It's the way the pedestrian light.
Yeah, it's not an
Phases are
exclusive
going.
pedestrian phase anymore. It's
Yeah.
concurrent. They call it concurrent phasing.
All right.
Any questions on that? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Where are we at? Do we want to move anything else around in the agenda? Keep it going as we're going. Okay. Appointments and resignations, do we have any? Do we have any? We don't have any either. Approval of minutes. Town council meeting, February 2nd. Yep. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the minutes from the February 2nd meeting?
Second.
All in favor?
Well, it was his information added to him. I didn't look at him. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other
Yes.
discussion?
Yeah.
I
All-
trust it, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have to abstain because I wasn't here. So 1 abstention.
One abstention. In the February 17th meeting.
Motion to approve the council minutes of February 17th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, subcommittee reports. Finance,
No report. We didn't meet.
government ops,
No, we are meeting tomorrow at 6.
public safety,
No report. We meet in 2 weeks.
senior liaison. Was there a meeting?
No, we didn't have a meeting between the last meeting and this one.
Okay. Land acquisition, farmland preservation.
Yeah, a couple of things. At our last meeting, we had a presentation by the town assessor regarding PA 490, and just for the public, for edification, if they're not aware of 490, I'll just give a quick 30,000-foot level of it. The program itself, in 1963, the Connecticut legislature enacted PA 63-490, commonly referred to as PA 490 or the 490 program. PA 490 allows 4 classifications of land, farm, 4 classifications of land: farm, forest, open space, and maritime heritage, to be assessed at their current use value rather than their fair market value. Current use value refers to what the land is worth as it is actually used. Fair market value refers to what the land may be worth on the open market. For example, its highest and best use. The goal of the 490 program is to provide landowners with tax relief to, number 1, encourage preservation, and number 2, reduce the financial pressure to convert the property into other uses. PA 490 doesn't give farmers a tax break just to be nice. It prevents farmland from being taxed like a subdivision. Without it, many farms couldn't afford to stay farms. While it lowers those specific assessments, farmland generally costs the town less in services than residential development. So in the long term, it could actually help stabilize taxes and preserve Rocky Hills' character. So we had a presentation from the town assessor on Rocky Hills 490 and ways to improve his communication or communication with the Department of Agriculture, because every 5 years, there's a survey that gets sent out for a reval, just like every town does a reval every 5 years. And it broke down about a year and a half ago when the survey went out. It broke down because there weren't enough responses, there was skewed data, and therefore the reval, the proposal had skyrocketed, in some cases 2,000%, for those landowners that had PA 490. So we discussed that. And subsequent, I just want to make clear, subsequent farmland meetings, it's going to be busy over the next 6 months because we're going to be adding additional things to the agenda. For example, more relief for farmers that are in our purview as a municipality, like building exemptions, increasing that, and machinery, farmland machinery, increasing that within the state guidelines. So that was the 490 discussion. We also just talked about the Rocky Hill Community Farm. The applications will be available this month for the the raised beds for gardening. And we also talked about the putting in a couple of porta potties, which at this point in time, we talked about septic and sewer and all that stuff, and right now it's just more financially feasible for just a couple of porta potties that Parks and Rec will manage. And that's it.
John, or Counselor Emmanuel, I believe the application is open as of today, correct? Or yesterday, yeah, today, or yesterday? March 1st was yesterday.
I think Steve said sometime in March it was available.
It was March 1st.
March 1st, okay.
Today's the 2nd, so I
All right,
believe
thank you.
it's good, yep.
Great, thank you. Liaison to the state rep and state senator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since our last council meeting, there's been a few state-level updates I want to let our residents know about. First, Carrie Wood last week on Tuesday held a community coffee hour at Chow Cafe. She's going to continue to hold events like this so that residents can get connected directly with her on what's happening at the Capitol and raise issues they care about in a low-barrier setting. Second, this past Friday, Mayor Smith, Deputy Mayor Thoreau, and I all testified before the Planning and Development Committee at the Capitol on a couple of bills that would strengthen municipal tools that relate directly to what Rocky Hill has gone through recently with the concierge crisis. Senate Bill 272 would be about blight enforcement. It basically is like when there are serious blight conditions that repeat over and over in a short window of 12 months, it gives the town the authority to take enforcement action without being forced to restart the cycle over and over again. Everything that we talked about at the Capitol over this hearing was focused on the idea of scaling penalties to the size and economic impact of properties. I want to put that out there clearly. Senate Bill 274, which we also supported, would strengthen repeat building and fire code violation enforcement and owner accountability, particularly for large multifamily properties owned through out-of-state or layered entities. It increases the penalties for repeat violations and improves, oh, sorry, I've just said that. During the hearing, our officials introduced the concept of creating a scaled solution to violation fines, aligning the value of fines with the size of economic impact on the property. Beyond that, in-person testimony, multiple members of the council submitted additional testimony on other bills since our last meeting. I kind of want to characterize the bulk of that work as a resident protection agenda shaped at the concierge crisis, but it also includes advocating for better safeguards for seniors, state tax breaks for volunteer firefighters and first responders, and additional tax benefits for veterans and their families. When a major housing complex breaks down, the impacts hit tenants, neighbors, and first responders and town staff all at once. And the testimony from our council members focused on the kinds of guardrails that keep families safer and stabilize situations earlier. That includes stronger tools around security deposits, setting for the first time, and I can't believe this is the case for the state of Connecticut, but setting for the first time a statewide standard and accountability regime for mold remediation. We don't have state standards for mold in Connecticut. We supported a bill that would create protections that allow tenants to communicate and organize better without fear of retaliation by their landlords. And we also supported a local option to pause rent increases when multiple serious violations remain unresolved. We also even supported a bill that would look to create additional inspection capacity during major incidents so routine resident needs aren't stuck waiting behind a crisis like this. Basically, we're out there looking for opportunities to see how we can have better tools to work with when we have problems right in front of us. And I hope you'll pay attention to what's happening at the Capitol, but just know that everybody here in town, everybody here at this dais, cares about you and wants to see you treated right by the state and by the people who live here in town. Thank you.
All right, thank you. School liaison, Deputy Mayor Thoreau isn't here, but she sent me something through her co-liaison, Amy Forcier. So just a brief update with what's going on with the Board of Ed. First of all, wanted to make sure it was on everybody's calendar that the Harlem Wizards game with the Rocky Hill Dream Team is on March 27th. That's a fundraiser through the Rocky Hill Education Foundation. The Board of Ed is discussing changing the guidelines for the recommended class sizes. They're looking at what that would look like to phase in smaller class sizes over the next few years, and the budget implications, and how many faculty that would actually mean, and space-wise in the schools. So keep an eye on that through the Board of Ed. They're having a policy meeting to discuss that. And then it will be followed up by the final budget workshop meeting on the 5th, so just a couple days from now. And Dr. Nozick he went over the details of the New Britain Transportation's response to how to get 129 displaced students to school when they're not necessarily coming from the same place anymore. And they just went through how quickly they were able to respond to that with minimal interruptions to students. Those are all the updates for school liaison. Moving forward, we have nothing on the consent agenda, which brings us to old business. A, do we want to start with A? I think we still have some guests here. Do we want to move B in front of A at least? Can I entertain a motion to talk about concierge real quick? I think
I'll make a motion to move B to A. Is that
B, item 7B in front of
B in front of.
Second.
in front of A. And we have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, let's just give a quick update for concierge, because we may have some company here for that as well. So I'll give a little bit of an update of what I know, and I think the town manager can add some more. So I talked to some folks from Eversource today. They met last week to go over how to provide some relief to concierge residents. They said basically preventing any late fees from going through for any of those is actually really going to be pretty easy for them. So that's one of the no-brainer things that they seem to feel pretty confident they're going to be able to do. So if people, are holding off on paying that bill, there won't be a late fee there, it looks like. One of the things that they're trying to do, though, is figure out payment plans, and we have a couple questions into them as well to try to see if we can get some data around how energy use was different maybe this year versus last year, same month, because there's a lot of residents that have questions around, I wasn't there for the entire month, and yet my electric bill was X. So we want to see if Eversource can provide some kind of information around that. The Attorney General's office and concierge or JRK did, I believe they're working either today or tomorrow, are formally signing the agreement that they came to last week. So last week was they agreed to all the terms. The paperwork is being signed either it was today, I spoke with them this afternoon. It was either today or tomorrow morning. And then that's phase 2. The second phase of that is the negotiation around, okay, how do we prevent this in the future? What type of oversight is there going to be ongoing to prevent this? How do we keep an eye on maintenance and all of these things? So they're gonna, that's ongoing, but that's kind of like phase 2. And just in case anybody wasn't clear, 4 out of the 5 buildings have now been, are now habitable again. So 4 out of the 5 buildings, people are able to move back in. The last building, hoping that it will be done by the end of this week. As if everything stays on track and we don't have any crazy weather and there's no other big things break. Did that pretty much sum it up, or do you
Yeah.
have anything else?
Yeah, very, very good. Just, building 300, the one that's not
Yes.
occupied yet. That still needs some work. There are still some water leaks, some standpipe issues, still some asbestos to remove, similar to, I think, 200, 100. Final plans were submitted for the remaining repair work for buildings 1, 2, and 3. That will be inspected tomorrow. The whole property of all the buildings probably for the next 3 months or so there'll be construction ongoing to do not the emergency repairs, because those will be finished, but the repair work that needs to be done to replace all the damage that was done with the
All the like sheetrock and the
sheetrock and the
things like
ceiling
that.
tiles and
Yeah.
everything, So fire marshal said, just be aware that it'll be like a construction zone, which is good, still more inconvenience for the residents, but construction is happening. Yeah, that's the update from the fire marshal's office. Just maybe, we received many emails from residents asking us about the agreement.
Yeah.
Maybe, what residents need to do is first contact that hotline on their flyer, and then let us know if you're not getting any response. And then we can contact concierge. But initially, they need to hear from you, your questions, and we can't answer those questions for you.
Yeah, I would say, because, we're still getting emails and responding emails every day. I think a few of the bigger ones are questions around, I already paid February, you're saying I'm going to get 3 months free. Does that include February? Right now, concierge is, if you already paid February and you're staying there and you're getting 3 months free, it's for March, April, May. If you have not paid February, if you didn't pay February's rent, then it's February, March, April. And the other questions are around looking for additional money beyond what is in the agreement, or if they have extra residents that are not on the lease, or trying to, terminate a lease in one of the 4 or 5 buildings. And a lot of these things, unfortunately, we can't answer because we don't have people's lease information to verify any of that stuff. And certainly, these are things that we're still in talking to the AG's office and the Attorney General talking to concierge. These are still things that we're advocating for concierge either making exceptions for or building into further agreements. But, that as of right now, the agreement that is in place with concierge, folks who have already signed on to that basically have been told you should expect the check like this week for that first check, and it's in the system already to forgive February's rent and things like that. So I just look at it as, this blanket agreement is not gonna work for everybody, and it certainly doesn't make a lot of people whole, but it is something that will provide people immediate relief, and for some people it is just what they were looking for. And so people just have to make that decision in looking at the terms, whether it makes sense for them, or if they want to pursue some other legal remedy, they're still entitled to do that. And there's timelines outlined for when people need to make those decisions. So I would just keep an eye on those and document everything. Anybody have any questions?
So this was a ruling, this was an agreement, not a ruling. In other
Correct.
words, okay.
Yeah, but so basically, And this is another thing that some people might be a little confused about too, is some of the messages that people are getting back from the folks like the office managers there and stuff like that says, well, we can't do that because we can't go above and beyond because of what we agreed to with the AGs. Well, that's not entirely true. They could absolutely go above and beyond if they wanted to. But when both sides got together and said, let's make a blanket, let's make a blanket agreement that is going to cover a lot of people. This is what came together, and the process we know from doing a fair rent or trying to go to housing court or something that can be lengthy. So people just have to kind of weigh that.
No, I'm sure it was
options,
done with what maybe a ruling would have come down with, and they came to, the table.
Yeah, they had to say, well, if every single one of these people took us to court, we would probably be paying a lot more than this
Right.
blanket agreement. So we're going to
But
save money and
wouldn't the
time.
residents hiring somebody to bring them to court,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's why it's good for some people. It's not going to work for everybody, and people just have to, weigh those options. And Legal Aid and Connecticut Fair Housing and stuff like that has made themselves available for people to consult to get a second opinion on whether that works the best for them.
Kind of leaves the door open too in case they don't, come through with the finished product. Because this gets us through the next couple months, but if they don't fix everything they're intending to fix to a very satisfactory nature, it can be brought back up.
Yeah, and I think another key component of this is my understanding is that the payments and the rent forgiveness and things like that are going to be overseen by an independent third party to ensure that they are doing what they have said they're going to do. It's not up to us. It's not up to the tenant to submit something. It's not up, and it's not. We're not just taking JRK's word for that either. It's an independent third party that is supposed to be signing off that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So that's good.
I'll comment that I think it was really helpful that the state got involved to the degree they did, and that's hard for me to say. So they did a good job.
Well, I would say if you just look at the sheer numbers, unfortunately, they have a lot more. I say they, I mean JRK has a lot more at their disposal than we do to be able to go head to head with them.
Yes.
And we have a lot more to lose than they do. And so bringing in, obviously, when you have the cameras in front of your leasing office every morning, afternoon, and evening, and you have the attorney general for one of 50 states calling you up. I mean, it's one of the top 50 attorneys in the country, basically, and you have the weight of an entire state coming after you. They answered relatively quickly. I mean, they flew in on a red, overnight flight 2 days after the Super Bowl to come and meet with the attorney general to start the conversations. And in all fairness to them, they have said, we want to have a better relationship with the town as well.
And thank you for the help on the council and your help too. So that was obviously played a big role as well. Don't want to be remiss in not mentioning that, so.
Well, thank you. And I think everybody has really been pulling together to try to put the whole voice of the town behind it. And we're looking at opportunities to try to actually affect change in the state level. Councilor Van Luling, spends a lot of time there, identified a few bills that said, hey, this is how we can prevent this in the future. So if we can put a little bit of our, lived experience right now to actually try to affect some of that change, I think that's going to be beneficial too. And now that people see this, I've had people, there were people at the Capitol that I don't know that were like, saying, hey, we're supporting you, and we know about Rocky Hill, we know about this issue. It's something that people bring up. So.
I'll say one more thing, and now that the residents are taken care of, What about the town? You know, we did have
Yeah.
extra manpower, whatever, and we're gonna have that going forward. Was there any, I apologize for not knowing this, sincerely asking, was that part of the?
This is phase 2 of the negotiations, is how is the town made whole from this?
Okay.
Because that's part of they want to have a better relationship with us, well, then they have to make right on that too. There's not, unfortunately, and this has come up a little bit before, there's not a whole lot of dollars and cents that you can point to that this costs, because the staff members that work on this, you know, their salary, it's not an hourly person you can measure to say you had to come in for extra hours and it costs this amount. But the human services, the fire marshal, when they're doing this all day, every day, when the building inspector is there for a month, every day for a month, you know, he's not doing anything else. That's delaying everything else getting done, you know.
I wanna get my addition done.
Exactly. That's the example I give, you know, is that's a permit that we didn't get for something else because it took too long, you know. So that there's certainly some indirect costs there. And so that's part of the phase 2 negotiation that they're still working on. The key part of that is not just how does the town get made whole, but it's also how does this not happen again?
And that's part of
That's
the ongoing inspection process.
yes. And what are, you know, trying to get them to agree to having that like independent oversight that says, okay, you say this, but what are the timelines and what happens if you don't?
So if the town were willing to accept an independent oversight on the inspection pieces of this at the expense of JRK, whatever they are, would that be amenable to the town? I mean, that keeps our
We would
inspector from being monopolized.
I think I can speak for the town manager and we say, we would love to have somebody else responsible for making sure that it's, and we still sign off on it,
Hopefully for phase 2 that we
but
can
not the
negotiate.
day-to-day. And that is, I believe, what the Attorney General is negotiating is how do we make sure that this is set ongoing for through the next winter too, not just a year from now, but through the next winter. And how do we do that without putting the extra burden on the town to have to go out and inspect all the time, or, you know, ensure that every last thing is done according, you know, to a T.
Yeah, probably would be looking for maybe a third party that's amenable to both parties, you know.
Yeah.
That's a process.
Their
that-
cost, yes.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yep.
Just a little comment on this. I'm really happy to hear that JRK has expressed an interest in having a better relationship with the town. I'm really happy to hear that there will be a third party monitoring the financial part of what they're delving out. And I say that mostly because we both, many of us are here getting resident messages on a lot of different subjects. And one of the ones that's been popping up over the last few days with me frequently is, I looked at my bill where I thought I was current on my rent. And right after this deal got done, I looked back and there are now thousands of dollars of charges. Not speaking to the validity, because it may be valid in the cases that have been brought to me. We have to keep our eyes on them.
I do have one point to add to that, actually. It reminds me. So one of the stipulations in the agreement was that you have to be current on your rent to be able to take advantage of these. However, I clarified with the Attorney General's office that there's only 4 tenants in the whole place that they see as being so far, they were already before this so far in their rent behind that they don't qualify for the additional thing. So there are people that maybe they had a late fee or something here or there. They still qualify for the agreement. You know, if they opt in, and basically when they're opting in to get free rent and get a check in the mail and all these things, what they're opting into is to get that one-time payment, and also that they're not going to pursue further legal action. That's basically what they're agreeing to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they're agreeing. They're saying, if I check here, I'm going to get a check in the mail, and I'm not going to pay rent for 3 months. In the example
And they
of...
still have an no lease.
Yes, and they can
termination.
still cancel within the time frame. They can terminate their lease and stuff like that. And they'll still get the check, and they'll still get the forgive rent. But even if they've got a late fee that's $25 or whatever, that's not going to preclude them from getting that for the 100, 200, 300 building ABC. D and E, as we know, like their benefits are a little bit different, but same thing. They can still get a free month of rent even if they're $25 behind or something like that. There are a handful of people that were, well, from what it sounds like, they were already months behind, and I think in that case, JRK is like, no deal. Which, they can still pursue that in their own, if they want to pursue that their own legal way through Fair Rent Commission, Housing Court, civil suit, whatever they can. But if they're, yeah.
I got it.
All right. Okay. Whew. Hopefully, we don't have to have concierge on the agenda every 2 weeks for the next 12 months or something. But until we have things cleared up, I think it makes sense to just be able to revisit that. So, oh wait, but now we're moving to the item that has been on the agenda for 12 months. Shared services operational assessments.
Handing out a.
Item 7A.
That I even need mine.
All right. Oh, geez.
Let's see. A lot of numbers here.
Could you put this in a smaller font?
Thank you. They had to fit it on too.
There have been multiple pages.
There we go. Okay.
I have to say that she actually put lines on it this time.
Special
All right.
request from town manager.
Thank-
We have grid lines.
Thank
So-
you. Okay, so what are we looking at here?
Right, let me go through this. I don't expect you to read all of this, although I think a lot of it will come in handy, even if you want to make a reference to it in the future. The conversation we had last had about the efficiency studies, and we had a couple of questions regarding numbers. So I'm going to go quick and just point at the parts that you may want to focus on for today. All of the section that's to the left in just that white area is showing you your current year budget and highlighting, big question was coming up conversation, what is this as a percentage of our total budget? So you're seeing high-level categories, education at 54.6, public safety, all public safety is 9.1% of your total budget, and so on. So I've got these sections that are that larger categories. I move over to the right section, and these are, if you take, for example, education, they're 54.6. One of the topics we had was when we're thinking about CLA and looking at the admin aspect of things, what that dollar amount is. For the Board of Ed, looking at their budget, their finance and their central office is $1 million, so that's 1.1 of the budget. I know at one point we had talked about a $5 million number that, even though the Board of Ed refers to it as admin, that is actually the school principals, vice principals, clerical in the schools. So central office portion is 1% or 1 million. So now you get a kind of a feel of what this spreadsheet looks like. I'll just go into the
Mona,
colors.
Mona,
Yeah,
so the 1.1 is just what's in this building,
correct.
okay? But it is admin when it's in the others, the individual schools, but that's not in the number?
That's right, that's right. 'Cause,
So that's where the 5
intention is-
million comes from that we thought.
Correct, that's right.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So if we were looking at, for example, now in those two green columns, if we were looking at the CLA, doing a review of the general admin, which would be the Board of Ed office, town manager's office, finance, human resource. So for town and Board of Ed together, bottom total of that green section is 2.1 million, about 2% of the budget. So when we make some judgments on what to do with that possible contract with CLA, they were doing 60,000 to review the 2.1 million.
A quick question, Mona, and-
Yep.
and Dave, I'm not sure if this is what you had asked too. So the 1,093,689 is showing up under education, and the same amount is under government admin. And to the left in the white, it's under government admin along with education. Is that
Just coincidence?
coincidence?
I wasn't asking that, but
Oh, okay.
I was thinking that, though.
Now that you read off
They are
every
extremely
last
close,
digit.
but now you got me worried. I see
So
what you're
is
saying.
that 1,093 and change for education, or is it for government admin?
Is that your salary, Mona?
I hope not, because I think it's my eyes went bad on you. I'm so sorry. They are both the $1 million range, and let me, if I brought my details. Do you have it? Oh, give me 2 seconds. I can give you that, but they are both in the $1 million range. I brought my Board of Ed sheet with me, and I'm going blind. So they
Copy and
actually
pasted
had,
the wrong one, I guess.
pardon me?
No.
830,000 plus there.
So I think, yeah, so what you're trying to get at.
I know, they're the same number, but it is extremely close to, and I will tell you the exact one, if you bear with me a second.
But so what you're trying to get to is, okay, when we back out like the salaries of teachers, and when you go into public safety and you back out the salary of like officers, like patrol, and if you go to parks and public works and you back out, well, I guess I don't know. what's
I'll
back
keep
out of
going.
those, but-
That's- For verification, that number for Board of Ed is 1,082,000, not 1,093,000. It's 1,082,000 and 54.
All right.
I
Found
know.
$11,000 already.
We're in the right direction for budget time, 1,082,000.
Okay.
Okay. I think that still rounds out to the $2 million at
Yeah, it's still about,
2%.
if you go all the way down to the bottom, it's still about 2.2.
Correct.
Right? Should be
Yes.
about that, 2.2.
If I go to the right, these kind of pinkish range, we were talking about before, that's the tax collector, tax assessor, and town clerk. And that is at 1.1%, 1 million, or 1.1 million. And we had talked about that, it's our recommendation that we look at that internally and not use the contingency dollars on that group. Question that's up for discussion, I will be contacting CGR so we can talk about looking at public safety and public works. So the question that's coming on those two blue columns, if you pull out the administration of the public safety, that would be the police admin and fire admin, that's 1.5% or 1.5 million. If you are looking back way over to that far left, public safety overall is 9% of the budget. So when I am contacting CGR, the question that we need to have hopefully today to bring back for the next meeting is, are we asking them to focus on the $9 million? We want to look at all patrol and dispatch and firefighters, or would we be asking them to make a quote regarding the public safety admin? And I think if anything, we probably should get some direction on that. And then the last group is combining the public works and the parks grounds. That's a 3%, $3 million for those two. I think if we had a decision to go public safety and then do public works after, depending on what the quote is, but we can get a quote on both.
So the only quote we have right now is for the admin of 60,000.
Correct, yes. That particular firm just does administrative. They don't really focus on the public safety and the, I should say, the group that quoted for the finance side, if we were doing public safety admin only, could look at the administrative side of things. So we could still ask them to make a quote, although we know that CGR, who's given us information in the past, could do the complete in-depth of the full budget. If that's what you chose, they would quote on that. I'm not sure what that will be.
Yes, the green box is 60K.
And we don't know exactly what the blue box is.
Mona, how many employees represents the 2.2 in the green box?
I'm not sure of the number of employees on the Board of Ed side, but we do have there, I believe there's 10 on our side, and I think there's part-time in there as well. And again, that would include all services and audits and so forth. So it's not all salaries, it's their full budget.
I mean, personally, I think we need to make a decision. But my question is, if we were to do the green, the Board of Ed and general government, is the Board of Ed receptive to this?
Oh, that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think where we left it last time was they said,
I thought they said in the admin they'd be open to it.
yeah, I think they said, just tell us what you want to do and we'll do it. And they said that in that dejected of a voice.
I believe that
I think
was,
that's what wasn't that the last response? Just tell me what you guys want to do. That was kind of the answer. You know?
So, okay, all right, well, that's good to know. But I thought in the budget, we had allocated 60,000 for,
this
I mean,
year.
if we wanted to do a portion of that to go towards the green, and a portion of that to go towards the blue, are you saying that to do the Board of Ed and Town Hall admin, these three things, that would take up all 60?
Oh, definitely,
You think so?
Yeah, we got those quotes. They were really, really high.
yeah.
Yeah, it was like
I thought it was like a 45,
no,
15.
no, it was 40. It was like 48 to just do one of them, or 60 to do both.
They did state that they would, they would back off the level of their scope review and,
Yeah.
fewer interviews, maybe interview the top group rather than every
I think
employee.
maybe it was
and could
48 to
reduce it.
60 or
Correct.
something like that. I
Right,
think.
right.
And then for public safety, was that the guy that came in from Prague?
No, that was another company. It was CGR.
And
And
they
they
dealt
zoomed in.
mainly with public safety stuff?
Correct, yeah,
okay.
they zoomed in on that one. We did ask them preliminarily if, looking at the individual groups, public safety, and then the public works, if the range, because again, we don't want to tell them how much we budgeted, but if they could fall within the range, and they felt that the range, which would have been our full dollar amount, the range I gave them was from 50 to 75,000. So in a range of 50 to 75,000, would you be able to address public safety and public works individually? And that was a yes.
So it would be nice if we, once we make a decision, that ultimately, after that study's done and we find the savings, that particular savings could go towards the next phase of a study for, like, public works or something.
Right.
Okay. It's just that initial decision.
Well,
I mean, personally, I would like to see,
and remember, if we find, so let's say we pay them 60,000 and they look at public safety, and then they come back and they say, this is how you can save 60,000. Then that's one thing. Then we say, okay, well, now we got another 60 and we'll use that for public works or whatever. But they might just come back and say, well, here's how you can move things around to make it work more efficiently, but there won't be savings. I mean, it's entirely possible.
Right.
So we can't really
That's a
count on
risk.
it,
That's a risk.
you know.
I'm just thinking, where can we safely assume we could find some savings? And I really think it would be in the green.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry. I wanted to go back to the education. You're telling me that 1,082,000 is only, it includes only 10 employees? I thought the Board of Education had a lot of employees. Or is that in the non-admin?
That's, my understanding is that is just central office.
Correct.
That's the folks who sit here. So it doesn't include principals that sit at the school or folks below them type thing, right?
Right, because they would be referring to them as curricular, and we would have the ability to review that.
I'm not sure if I should say this. I'm not sure if this makes any sense to anybody, but there was a comment about, you know, if we find savings, then we can possibly use some of that towards the next stage of a study. And I don't know why that just rings a little bit strange to me. The thought of like where we're seeking out savings, we find some savings.
Let's find a way to spend
Are we
it.
going to spend our savings on keeping the company that does the efficiency study afloat? I'm kidding, obviously, but it just, I am concerned about what we're going to find in terms of real savings, and it is a risk. I do kind of agree we need to, there's a lot of good reasons to take a look at this and find out what's there. And I'd say if we have an experience with the limited scope we're doing here that says, oh, we're not finding that much efficiency that's worth this, maybe we know we don't need to go on to the next phase and do that, and maybe we get a different approach. But in the meantime, I would be eager to go to the next phase of this project.
I guess I
No,
just don't
and
understand.
to the mayor's point too, about whether we save, find savings or not, when we're raising taxes every year and taxpayers aren't thinking or seeing any effort by the council to find savings, then they're just going to throw up their arms and start really objecting loudly. I think we need to try, if we spend 60 and we save 40, at least we're trying. If we don't try, then why are we here?
But the 40 may be over more than 1 year too, so
Right.
that's one thing. But I guess I'm just not really understanding exactly what they're gonna be looking at. Maybe I need to go back and really read the scope again, but,
Yeah, we can bring that back.
okay.
I'd say on the blue, I can still, as I'm reaching out to CGR, because again, I'm looking for directive on what to do with them. I have no objection to asking them to quote both scenarios and bring that back. If they looked at, what is the quote if you were looking at the admin version of public safety, or what if you were looking at the entire 9 million, and see what we get for having them quote both scenarios and bring that back for the next meeting.
I'd say the whole thing.
You might as well include Public Works there for 8.8 million, so. Like, I'm inclined to spend the 60,000 on that than maybe the 60,000 on 2.187 million. I don't know.
I would say on the Public Works,
Back to the
trying
bang
to
for your buck.
separate, to separate on Public Works. That sanitation is almost entirely the bill to MDC. So I would exclude that off,
Maybe I must have understood you. I thought you said Public Works and Public Safety would be within the dollar amount range that we budgeted.
Each individual component could be either or, but not together.
But not together.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, easily, yeah.
Anybody want to make a motion to how we move forward?
Well, she just has to get some figures.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Do we want to make a conditional motion?
Can I
My
read?
take is, I would
There's
look
no
at
such thing.
Public safety and Public Works to find out.
Oh, it was not. Thank you. My take would be public safety and public works to get the whole picture. The public works minus the sanitation, as you said. And get a price on that. See where we go.
Sanitation's a fixed cost. It may be any other fixed cost in there.
Right, I'd take off the MDC portion, and you would still have other fees in there,
Sure.
some of the transfer station part-time, a full-timer. So I'll just take off the MDC bill and quote it that way.
Because as Counselor Savini's saying, I don't know about the Board of Ed anymore, you know, it's,
You hate to target one small group.
right, 10 people.
Yeah, so, all right, so do we need to get quotes for public safety and public works, or do we need to just, can we just assume that it was within that price range and, you know,
I would
decide that-
still have to get quotes
Yeah.
just because of the dollar amount.
okay,
Yeah.
and so you would have to get a quote and come back and say, this is what it is, and then we would have to say, yeah, go ahead, write that check?
Exactly. Yes. I mean, if
Sounds
we're
like we're
interested, I would
tabling
go
it
out
one
and
way or
get the
another
3
then.
quotes. Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Now, with that, with the quotes, we're using contingency monies.
Correct.
I mean, if they go over somewhat, we could still approve more than the 60,000.
You're asking me almost a finance question. By looking at the way that this last couple of storms went, I would not go too far into that. I think you remember your contingency is, we put 60,000 of contingency for this, but it's
Right.
also covering some of these other overages, and these past couple of storms have just,
Well, there was more than 60 in the contingency.
Oh, yeah.
yes, I'm
Right,
saying,
right.
but
So
that is
you're
used
just
to
saying, don't use
offset.
over and above the 60, we earmarked, whatever.
Correct. Mhm.
What was our contingency last budget compared to this current budget? We did up it
You did up.
100,000 or
correct.
something, correct?
Yes,
So
for
that's
this purpose.
significant increase. So there is some wiggle room there.
All these snows come on weekends, man.
Yeah, they do.
Paying everybody weekend overtime, clear snow, adds up.
Okay.
So
All
what do
right.
you want to do, Mr. Mayor? Get the 2 quotes on those, public safety and public works?
Sounds like that's
I
where
don't
we're
think we
at.
have to make a motion to move
No.
it.
No, we don't have to.
No,
Just
no,
table
it's
it.
need
No,
direction.
just
That's it.
staying on the table.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Moving on. All right. New business. Discussion possible action, public arts policy, and proposed revisions. All right. So we've had some folks come and talk about the public art policy that was enacted a couple years ago. Looking to open it up so that we have a few more opportunities for things. The nonprofit public, Rocky Hill Arts Now has submitted something with a red line version of the art policy to remove some stuff and open it up a little bit. I asked Ray to send that to the town attorney to make sure that we still fell within, legal comfort, where we're not gonna set ourselves up for some major legal issue. And he got back with, I think it might be included in here.
Yeah,
He came back with an email that said he was fine with it. He had a question around, the timeline, if
And also, not having staff, like approve materials or what have you, for safety. He was concerned, that might, are you sure you want to take the staff review out of some of these components?
Okay.
Yeah, the memo is, should be attached.
What thoughts do people have?
So what is the problem we are trying to solve here?
So the public art policy that passed a couple years ago basically was for crosswalks only, and only allowed them in parks, of which there's only one park that has crosswalks. And we haven't seen a lot of organizations or any organizations yet come forward with a plan that or a proposal to do that. However, there are organizations that also do murals, other things like sculptures and things like that. And the policy that we have in place right now doesn't allow for any of that. It doesn't allow for a mural on the side of a building or anything like that either.
So what makes you believe that a policy change will more people? Is that what you're thinking about? Or that's what I'm trying to get at, like what is the problem that we are really solving? Has anybody asked for change in the policy?
Yeah, so Rocky Hill Arts Now, of which is an organization that I'm involved with. I helped start it, so that's not a secret or anything. We had a public meeting asking about people's level of interest, and the feedback was that they'd like to see it they'd like to see artwork in more public places. That the current policy as it stands was a little too restrictive to only be talking about crosswalks in one location.
So my question is really, is it a statement of an intent that people are interested in from the town, or is it something people want to utilize as a policy? Because they can today use the policy in the park and start the conversation. I'm just making sure that we are not.
So
If we have a hammer, we don't think everything is a nail, right? So we have a policy and we think like we should make a statement as a council because somebody doesn't like the policy, they want it to be more broad. The question is the policy being utilized currently? Can you show me it's being utilized currently, and therefore we need to expand it because it's restrictive as it is being used currently? It's not being used currently at all. My problem is like sitting here and talking about a problem that does not exist, in my view, because nobody has come out and tried to do anything in the park. That's what I'm trying to get at. Broadening the policy when there is existing policy not being utilized.
I'd love to comment on that and just say that perhaps the access through the policy being only to the park limits the interest in engaging with it. Perhaps the interest is in having displays in different types of environments than just the park. One thing that was brought up in a few of the times I've had conversations about this is not that we would go there, but we've got a bridge 91 right on our border. Imagine it said "Welcome to Rocky Hill" on it. Not saying that we do that, but in any case, what this policy would do is enable more options to be brought to us to decide on. We still hold the deciding factor on all these things, and I, much like earlier about opening up public access to things, more opportunity to have ideas and express them to us and see what we want to do as a town.
Yeah, and I'm all for that. The only reason I am hesitant, and again, like I'm open to it, to this conversation, I read a draft of a policy which is which was very long, very, I should say, lawyerly written. And now we are looking at this and we are trying to change things based on our views of the usage, right? That's why I keep going to this. Has somebody come to the town manager has said that we want to do this, and this policy is very restrictive to what we are trying to do, hence, therefore, this needs to be changed.
So
I would like to
someone
see
came
that
and
like in
spoke
a
at
public
meeting
forum.
And said, they did, they came and
did have
spoke and
public
said those
comments.
exact words.
But what I'm trying to say is there, I would like to hear what they're trying to do. Like, that's all I'm trying to get to a use case. Let's put it that way. I'm a use case person. I'm not an abstract person. If there is a use case, I want to hear that use case out.
Here's a hypothetical use case. If, we have one crosswalk that's going to go in the park, perhaps, potentially. How many crosswalks do we have at the park? Because crosswalks are one way that a lot of things can be expressed.
Zach, with respect, I don't want a hypothetical use case. I want a real use case.
Well, the one I suggested that had been suggested to me, there is a use case that's outside the policy right now. Putting something up on the bridge that says "Welcome to Rocky Hill" would be outside the use case.
And I'm fine with that. I just want to spend time in a meaningful way on a policy that will produce actual results. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Let's get to the meat of what's in here, and let's go back and forth on. Let's figure that out. Let's do that.
Sure.
Yeah, I think during some of our conversations, just conversations with people who live here, there's been discussions on just the restrictiveness of arts in town and not being able to fully express themselves. The seniors don't have a lot, can't put, even at places like the library, you can't necessarily put art up, and other places like that. And again, I don't have all of all the information, but there was a lot of discussion about there should be more able to express of arts. And I don't know, Alan, you being a part of this group, if there has been discussions on examples and specific things that you've heard.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is we don't have any public art in town now. And we have a policy that allows it, but it's restrictive to only one place. But we want to encourage more public art.
Yeah.
So I would think it only makes sense that allowing public art to be in more places will, by default, bring more people in with more ideas. But I can rattle off a bunch of ideas that people have floated. So there's Welcome to Rocky Hill on the Bridge on 91. We've actually, had conversations with people from DOT to try to figure out if that's something that we can do. In our current policy, might not be able to do that. There's ideas around crosswalks, yes, but there's also ideas around murals. We got an example of painting the backstop at the Little League field. Can't do that in the current policy because it's not a crosswalk. You can't paint the side of a building. You can only paint the ground. There's the 250th is coming up. Wouldn't it be great to have a crosswalk for the 250th, the big red, white, and blue one? Can't do that, though, unless you do it up at Elmridge Park. It is Veterans Park, so maybe that is a good place to do it. There's the fire department celebrating 100th anniversary. That would be a great one to do. You could do a crosswalk in front of the fire department in front of the public safety buildings here on Old Main Street. Current policy won't allow you to do that. And unfortunately, when it comes to like grant proposals and stuff too, a lot of times you can't get approved for the grant unless you're actually able to do it in the town. Based on the rules in town. So I think there's plenty of those examples, but it's hard to point to, well, nobody has come and said that this is a problem. Well, they haven't come because they can't get to that point anyway.
I'm very concerned about this. We spent like 4 months writing this policy, the council prior to this council here. A lot of input was taken. This policy was passed unanimously by the last council. I understand you may want some changes. I'm very concerned about where you're so vague in where you want stuff. You're saying somebody could paint a mural on the high school, paint a mural on town hall. I'm not in favor of that stuff. These are brick buildings. You're gonna be, if you have to take that mural off, what are you gonna sandblast it? Now the building itself is compromised. I think we need to, if you want to do something like this, give us specifics, write them specifically.
Yep.
I read last time, and I have all that information again. Federal traffic control and our state DOT do not allow crosswalks on on state roads or federal roads to be painted. And I have a whole history here that they're hazardous. They may cause accidents. I read that the last time. I was concerned, and obviously the other council was concerned also. That's why it was directed to the park. It's low-density traffic. It's in the park. We decided parking spaces, the crosswalk at the park, for safety concerns. I'm on Public Safety Committee. I've been in public safety my whole adult life and as my career. I'm concerned about public safety. I don't want to see an accident out there happen. If somebody stops at a crosswalk out in front of the town hall, gets rear-ended, and they're saying, the crosswalk, I stopped for that. Does that come back onto the town as being liable for a lawsuit possibly? These are concerns that I have. And I can quote Federal Highway Administration, our state DOT regulations about it. It's not a good idea for safety reasons to put them on a crosswalk.
And just to add to that, just one quick thing, like, the reason it's restrictive, as if I remember the conversations from the, if you want to deem it restrictive, right, which we can, definitely there is reasonableness to like characterizing it that way. And it was restrictive by design, I think. The reason was, if you go back and listen to the conversations on the council, it was because we were treating it as a proof of concept with that council. And that's why the reason I was bringing up the current use of this policy is because that proof of concept hasn't borne out, right? And when you have proof of concept, which hasn't borne out, now you're saying we haven't even had a proof of concept, which was the intent of that quote unquote restrictive policy. Now you're saying we're just going to broaden it anyway without the proof of concept. And that's what I'm trying to get at. And just combining that with what Fran is saying, I think that was the intent. I'm just trying to take you back to the intent of how and why that it was written the way it was written.
And Councilor Whalen, I respect all your, reservations around public safety, and around, destruction of property or something like that, brick buildings. So I'll just point to a couple lines that remain from the previous policy in the new proposed policy. And that is, the town may reject proposed artwork for any reason. That could be the location, that could be the design, that could be whatever, any reason. They could just say, I don't like it because it's blue and I don't like the color blue. And then there is a process where it has to go through all in the policy that's already in here, it has to go through all the various, town staff members that would oversee that. Public safety, public works, parks and rec, if it's in one of those departments, that's one of the lines in there. And then, so you have the town may reject proposed artwork for any reason is one. And then the last line is also the town may order the removal or may remove it after providing notice at any time at sole discretion. So if a proposal gets put together, the town manager and public safety and public works gives their input and they say it's bad, hey, this is going to ruin this building that we invested all this money in, or hey, by the way, we're about to do this big project and redo all that a year from now anyway, we as a town council can say no, because ultimately it's the town council vote to approve it or deny it. And so as a majority, the town council can deny it. Or if it becomes an issue, say, this mural is distracting. You painted a tunnel on the side of a brick building and coyotes keep running into it. Like whatever it's distracting. We can order it to be removed at any time. So you still have that catch for if it's a thing. And so, but also Councilor Prakash's argument of you need proof of concept. Well, there's a dozen towns probably within 5 miles of here that have some sort of public art. That's proof enough, I think, that it's beneficial. There's a mural on a library in Bloomfield. There's a mural downtown in West Hartford. There's sidewalks and crosswalks and everything all over the place. And they're in every other town except for ours. There's your proof of concept, I think. But also, I'll just I'm familiar with MUCD and all of the federal highway traffic rules and what they say about this and stuff too. But I would just say I don't know of any examples where a crosswalk or a mural was a safety hazard. I can't think of, if you're driving along the road and you see a crosswalk that is colored differently and it causes, you cause an accident based on that, I think there's other distracted things there's other things that are more of a distraction than that. And honestly, you know, there's anecdotal feedback from other, you know, what's the pedestrian safety? There's some pedestrian safety groups that have shown studies where it's actually having something like that. It actually draws more attention to the fact that it is a crosswalk there, specifically just for crosswalk stuff. But some of the things that other towns employ is they say, well, if you're going to do a colored crosswalk here, you also need additional signage and lights and things like that, which we have, but not in the park. We have that additional signage. If you look at the crosswalks here by the Historical Society, they have additional signage that points and says there's a crosswalk here. If we're relegated to only the park, you don't have a lot of that. I think there might be one sign in between the baseball fields. But also, we're talking about crosswalks because that's in our head, but this is what allows us to do things that aren't crosswalks. It's murals, it's a sculpture, it's any type of public, you know, display of art. But,
So maybe I hope this is a helpful comment. I hope it is. But I am sensitive to Councilor Whelan's concerns about building structures that we don't want to see damaged by stuff. And all of this is going to ride on decisions by the council. Now, that council is this 9-member group here now, but that's not necessarily the case in a couple of years. And as much as, you know, I would like to believe that Councilor Whelan can trust us here in the majority, that we will absolutely, if a case came before us for something to put on the brick walls here, that we would hear very clearly how that's probably not a great idea. I also hear you loud and clear that maybe this is a little bit vague. Maybe there's some added specificity we could bring to it. I don't know. I'll ask kind of plainly, are there just like a handful of locations in town that you would sit there and say to yourself, I don't think those should be available for public art because of X, Y, Z? Like, is that the kind of specificity we could get into? Excluding certain places that are, for certain reasons, while still being able to open it up more generally so that people can feel like they can come up with new ideas that aren't just a crosswalk, that aren't just here. And maybe we end up shooting down more than we say yes to, but people feel like they can. I don't know. There's got to be somewhere in the middle we can meet on this, right?
Can I add something before you answer? You know, listen, number one, this was put on our lap on Friday. I had a weekend away, and now we're talking about it, right? I don't need what happened with House Bill 5002 that got crammed in an emergency session. So I'm very uncomfortable moving forward tonight because it says possible action, just to start us off, right? I think Punkish does make a pretty good point. Nobody even started small. I get if you don't want to come here, but nobody took advantage of it. And there's more pedestrian traffic at the park than there is coming across some of the crosswalks around here. So to say that that wouldn't be viewed, I don't know about that, because you can make an argument just the same way that we have pedestrians at the park.
But didn't we just hear the argument that there's less pedestrians there and that's why it would be safer?
Less pedestrians where?
At the park?
I didn't say that. Who said that?
Wasn't that the argument for why it was in the park in the first place?
Safer in the park.
When you're
the
driving on a
crosswalk.
real road,
Safer.
right, you're saying how it's not a danger. Well, are we suggesting that the state take away their safety recommendations? Because it wasn't our recommendation that wasn't safe. It was taken from the state's recommendations, okay? So they have to have something behind that. I don't know what's behind it, but I don't think they'd have it there. And if it would have got probably more challenged if it was not part of a good safety recommendation. That being said, you said there could be situations where it could be safer. Well, if you're stopping at a crosswalk to read it, I think Councilor Whalen made a great point. Oh, happy 250th America, and then boom, he gets hit from behind. I mean, we're not right in theorizing how these things work, number one, okay, either way, to be honest. And, you know, Welcome to Rocky Hill, I mean, I guess we can't do a mural of Welcome to Rocky Hill, but I'm pretty sure we could put up a sign if we wanted to that says Welcome to Rocky Hill. Okay, so I'm not sure that's a perfect example. So my whole point here is, I tried to read through this today, and by the way, pretty confusing to try to read it. I'd love to see the old one. I have to pull that up to see the old one and see what the new one would look like, and then I can make a decision whether I think it's fair or not fair. But also, the 4 months we spent on it a year and a half ago, you know, it was already vetted, and now we're going to go spend more time and do it all over again. So if every administration, every new council is going to do this, it seems to me a slight waste of time. Having said that, I'm open to hearing about it. It's on the docket. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to table this for further consideration because based on this discussion, and there might be members of the public that would weigh in at the next public comment that we could take into consideration at our next discussion.
I'll second that.
Just before, Counselor, this document, it is the original, the one you have.
Yeah.
The whole thing is the original, but the red? The red are the revisions.
Then what's the blue?
Yeah,
You know,
what's
blue,
the blue?
red, black.
Blue, red, and black?
I mean, blue, red, yeah, I have blue, red, and black.
Black's
I do need help on this one, sorry.
Yeah.
It is confusing. I had to look at it a
And
few
people's
times.
track changes.
The colors are the revisions crossed out, and then they added a couple of other paragraphs. But the base is the original. It's all there.
So blue is addition.
Well, that has
Looks
some,
like it was an
there's
addition
some
and
lines
crossed
through the
out.
blue, too.
Yeah.
No, it's an addition.
Yeah, there's crossouts on the blue.
Changes.
Okay. All the colors are the addition. Blue, whether it's blue or red, consider it all one color. The black is the original. The blue, whatever's crossed out in blue or red is original language.
Can we get a copy of the original at some point in our packet?
Without the.
Just without any cross-offs?
Oh, just put legends out there on the thing so that we
Yeah,
know. That's all. It's all good.
Well, there's something there. but, yeah.
All right, so, yeah, so we have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor?
Of the motion.
Or any discussion of the, yeah. I'm fine with that. Everybody, take a look at the original, look at the new one next to it. I think the intent is to not add more. It's, so when you said some of the blue is addition, I don't know that that's the case.
What happened was.
You started modifying it?
No, I didn't modify, I didn't touch it. I used a color printer, and for some reason I picked the wrong colors, but I'll send you an original unmarked up anyway.
Thank you.
No problem.
It's okay.
It's
I have
technology.
a question, because since we are in discussion, how do we propose, let's say it comes to the council, let's just, hypothetically say like we pass this, and let's say we have, every 2 weeks we have like one application. Let's just keep, maybe every 3 months we have whatever the number is. It's a small number, let's say. Are we gonna have a committee of the council to go through this? Are we gonna have the full council opine on this every time something comes up? Let's just say 3 times a year. Let's keep it pretty straightforward and manageable.
I think.
How do we propose to do this? Like, let's just hypothetically talk about that.
I mean, it would be easy to just maintain through the structures we already have, which is to say, since we don't know what the volume would be, but we have a good reason to believe it wouldn't be excessive, we could just leave it to the council to make these decisions, and then if we find during a period of time that we're getting an excessive number of applications, maybe then we decide to create that subcommittee.
Yeah, I
But
think.
that subcommittee obviously would be contingent on having so much interest that we really need to separate it out there.
And I think a lot of towns have just an art council that oversees that type of stuff. But right now, we don't have enough activity to require that.
It also might be of benefit to have these decisions, especially at the outset of a policy like this, come through the council so that the council's kind of starting to create the kind of like conditions that people expect, what could get through, what won't, based on what we decide as a council. I think there's a lot of opportunity to do something that satisfies the constituent need that's been expressed to us of something that's a little bit more open than what we have right now, without necessarily causing the problems that all three of you have very rightfully brought up as, you know, concerns to have and be addressed.
The second to the last page has the procedure.
Right.
And
That's
Town council
That's the original.
has to approve it.
That's the original policy.
So are you
Correct.
saying like
That didn't change.
So Ray, in your view, we should keep the original process, or should we go to a new process? That's what I'm trying to get at.
I think-
Let's hypothetically, if we pass it, yeah.
Yeah, the procedure, I think, should be kept.
Okay.
You know, that page, second to last page, yeah, it goes through, you know, there'd be a committee of the town staff going, because this was originally drafted, as we know, for crosswalks. So we had Public Works, we had
Right.
planning in case they wanted to paint parking lots to make sure they're the right size. So that was the internal committee. And then we'd go through, make sure everything's okay, and then that recommendation would come from me to the town council, and then you would review and make a decision.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, are we tabled? Did we vote on that? We good?
I think we didn't vote on it.
Yeah.
We didn't, this was the discussion piece. I think we need to still vote on the table.
All right.
Table it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Our table is getting full. And we already talked about Veterans Green. We got, oh, this is the RFP. stuff.
Just what's being passed out are the handouts from Steve Sopelak from his presentation. I don't know if he made enough copies around.
There's one extra here.
I think he's about that one.
Oh, if we got an extra copy?
Oh.
Okay. All right, so mayor's report, I'll keep this short. Has anybody heard yet, how did the Lady Terriers do tonight? Did we hear yet?
Good question.
Our basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody hear about that?
The fine?
Do we know anyone in?
CCC championship.
our
This
women's
isn't the
basketball?
state tournament, but it's a conference championship.
Yeah. Did we hear about that game tonight? Yeah.
Do we have anyone who
can't
can get a
say
quick
I
text to us?
Somebody, Ed, can you Google real quick and see how our basketball team did tonight? Okay, thank you. So first, all right, I'll try to get through these quick. First, we have a positive announcement that we have an assistant chief appointment. So after a long and somewhat exhausting search and testing process, we have announced that Deputy Chief Jeff Gerace will be promoted to the rank of Assistant Chief.
Oh, good.
Yay. And he didn't, he doesn't really want a big show out of it, but but that was also announced at the annual fire department annual awards, which the rest of his family cleaned up on as well. It was like going to the Oscars and seeing, you know, I don't know, Avatar or something. Anyway, so today I had the pleasure of participating in Read Across America at Stevens School. That was fun. I think Ray is also scheduled to do that as well in the coming week or two. He's terrified. He's got his Dr. Seuss books out. And there's some other people from faculty and staff members in town. Some of the Board of Ed folks are going to be doing that and stuff too.
Read the budget.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It'll go over
Yeah.
well.
How do they still have like nap time at certain grades?
Yeah.
Didn't work.
I was there. I was the last one before the end of the day. Like the bell was going to, and the kids were great. It was a good time. I thought for sure they were either going to be bouncing off the walls, ready to go or not. But they really enjoyed if you give a mouse a cookie. So we have ribbon cutting on Wednesday at Chow. That place has been open for a little bit, but they're doing their official ribbon cutting with Chamber of Commerce. That's Wednesday at 3. Library is doing their indoor golf fundraiser the weekend of the 13th to the 15th. That's a ton of fun. Get your foursome together. It's Friday night is adults only, and then Saturday and Sunday, check out the schedule. That's all ages. It's a good time, and they raise a lot of money for Friends of the Library there. Shine Your Light family, the family event, their second one is coming up on the 11th. That is 5:30 to 7:30, and they really wanted to encourage more people, more families to bring younger kids to that as well. That's some of the feedback they got. I did coffee hour last week at the senior center. It was well attended. Unfortunately, I had to cut it a little bit short because we were dealing with concierge stuff that day. But I'm looking forward to continuing to do that every month. Snow removal on sidewalks and crosswalks is something that we've been getting a lot of questions about. So we have the answer for you. If you are trying to walk on the sidewalk, you're driving somewhere and you see sidewalks or the entrance to crosswalks that are blocked, the correct and most efficient way to deal with that is to call the police department's non-emergency line, PD dispatch. That number, I don't know it off the top of my head. It is on our website. And what will happen is they will either, if it's somehow a town property, like the corner of somewhere leading on a crosswalk and it's our stuff, they will get somebody from the town to do it. And if it is a private property, if it is in front of somebody's house or if it's in front of a business, they will also try to get them to do it. And if they don't, the police department's the one that issues fines. So we had a lot more snow this year than we've had in a little bit of time. Hopefully we're done with the snow now and everybody's got everything picked up and we're not going to have any more snow, but just in case, and for next year, that's how you address it.
Just for the record, so that it goes into the minutes, that phone number is 860-258-7640, non-emergency line for the police.
Yeah, don't call 911. That might be a little much, but that's all I got. I'm gonna stop there.
Okay, my turn. Town
Yep,
manager's
that's you.
report. Very short. Just want to note that Mona and I and Joe Lentini will be meeting with a similar team from Weathersfield and Newington to discuss a potential regional RFP for sanitation, similar to what we did the last time. Hopefully we get a better price. So we need to work that out a bit before we come back to you.
Disposal, not collection.
Yeah, disposal. You read the minutes, you approved them. Those are the new fangled transcribed minutes from our new software package from Civic Plus. The minutes are transcribed, plus it's also links to agenda packaging too. Daniel just has to go through and review the minutes to make sure that who said what is the proper name. So not much difference than what you saw, but it's a lot less time consuming, less expensive. Sorry, Daniel.
A lot more work for Daniel.
Let's see what I have here.
Ray, is that applicable to the commissions and boards too?
Yes,
Is that the same software that's used?
Yeah,
we had all, right?
Park and Rec had a few things that they wanted me to mention. Hop Around the Hill Egg Hunt, Saturday, March 28th, from 9:30 to 12:30 at the Community Senior Center. Registration is open for residents and non-residents, and that starts on Friday, March 6th. Summer registration begins already, and that's Monday, March 30th. Read Across America, that was already discussed. And Learning Preschool Learning Tree Preschool. The preschoolers are beginning a hands-on-life study centered on the hatching chickens at the library.
We're gonna have chickens at the library?
Yeah, we've had chickens at the library.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you know about this?
I did.
Hey, do you have the chickens now?
Sometimes they get donated to Hayes Farm.
No, I won't say what I was going to say. So the kids will be, it's an educational, full, a lot of curiosity. They're making predictions and asking questions and what have you. Yeah, that's all I have.
I do have one last update. The Lady Terriers were not victorious this evening. But we're still very proud of them for making it this far.
Well, they still have the state tournament,
Yeah.
and Northwest is not in their bracket.
Oh, great.
It's no joke to get this far and to do this well.
Yeah,
They really,
this is usually a tournament it's great to win, of course, and be
Yeah.
there, but they still have the state tournament, which is the
that's
real
the
goal.
tournament.
Yeah.
All right. This is a
like-
good warm-up.
Canadians won the Four Nations, the U.S. won the Olympic gold.
All right.
Very well put.
All right.
Very well put.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.